advisors, we are here to help you solve your China business pain points. One business pain point that comes to mind is the internal leadership challenges that can occur. Every day, leadership challenges are going to come for you from all sides, around every corner, even from within. This happens on a day-to-day basis in China. In my opinion, leadership, true leadership based on honesty, authenticity, and meaningful relationships takes guts. The kind of leadership that inspires others, serves others, and points them toward a greater purpose and vision, it's really a lot of hard work, especially in China. There are many bumps on the path of leadership. Sometimes they're roadblocks, sometimes the bridge is out entirely, but every challenge is an opportunity. It's a chance to learn about yourself, improve your skills, strengthen the emotional intelligence that's so critical to effective leadership. Now, for me, there are 8 internal leadership challenges that CEOs, leaders, etc., experience in China. The first and probably the most persistent source of leadership challenge is you, the leader yourself. Yes, there are plenty of external forces in China that can throw obstacles in your path, but most often it's going to be your own thoughts, feelings, ways of reacting to situations that will create some of the biggest hurdles in leadership. So that's where we need to start with the internal leadership challenges. So the first challenge is staying humble. When you're in a position of leadership in China, it can be easy to start believing your own press, like I'm the CEO of this Chinese company, I'm the head of the game. Maybe things are going great, you're hearing accolades. It's easy to start believing that all this success is you're doing, that maybe, just maybe, it's you who deserves the credit for your organization's greatest accomplishments. But you don't need us to tell you that the arrogant leader in China is not someone we want to follow. And this can certainly alienate your team, cause conflict, incite drama, none of which is healthy for an organization and can lead to high employee turnover. It can be a challenge to stay humble as a leader in China, but it is essential. It's an essential leadership quality that's worth fighting for. Having self-confidence. Now, it's funny. We just said you have to fight to stay humble, right? And this sounds a little like the opposite, but having self-confidence isn't the opposite of humility. It's healthy. The problem is most leaders, if we're honest about it, struggle with self-doubt. Come on, guys. It's China, right? Of course, we're going to have self-doubt. There are changes that are constantly being thrown our way, obstacles that are being thrown all our way. You cannot tell me that on a daily basis you don't have self-doubt. The more you succeed, the more you're likely to wrestle with those feelings that you're not really who people think you are. And that's obviously known as imposter syndrome. It can be a particularly painful challenge for many people in China because it creates so much self-doubt. It can cripple your ability to inspire, motivate, and serve your team. And that's why a healthy level of self-confidence is critical for your leadership. Humility is all about knowing you're not the center of the universe. Self-confidence means understanding that you bring value to that universe. Why did your company choose you to be in China? You obviously have certain qualities and skill sets that mean you're good enough for this. You're not a fraud. So you do sometimes have to tell yourself, I am enough. I can do this. I can get myself out of the challenge. The third is overcoming fear. I always tell people, but I have experienced almost every single company that I have worked with over the last 18 years. There is always one leader, either in the board of directors or somebody from procurement or sales or marketing, that has a fear on China. Now, not much can get in the way of leading well, making good decisions, and moving your organization forward like fear. Fear of the changes that are about to happen, fear about the regulatory changes, fear about suppliers, customers, high employee turnover, how you handle them and how your team will react is critical. The fear of making the wrong decision, all the risks and what ifs that can stop you in your tracks, from economic change or market shift to the specter of job cuts or restructuring or the global pandemic crises, the Russian-Ukrainian war. Fear is a basic human instinct and no leader is immune to it. What you can do is just recognize it, be aware that you have it, own it, and deal with it effectively. The fourth is following through. Now, leaders are obviously busy on a daily basis. There's always so much to do, and just plain and simple, never enough time to do it in. There are distractions, emergencies, new opportunities, social events that will pull you in a lot of different directions, which is why it isn't surprising that one leadership challenge you might face is having a tough time following through on plans, ideas, strategies that you have put in place. In fact, some studies suggest that 90% of strategic plans fail to meet expectations because nobody is following it through. Now, in China, when you're starting off, and even as you're growing and expanding, yes, there's a lot to get done. There are changes and surprises and obstacles that are going to come along your journey. But taking on so much that you're unable to finish what you started has hamstrung the effectiveness of many leaders before you. So make sure you create bite-sized pieces and make sure that you're always thinking about following through or delegating it so others can follow through on your behalf. Now, in China, dealing with stress and anxiety is big. With all of these challenges staring you in the face, you'd be well within your rights to feel stressed out. It's natural. Not only are you in a new environment, or you're now working in a new company that's foreign invested, the anxiety these leadership challenges create itself can be a significant challenge. The fear, the self-doubt, the cascade of problems and expectations that we all face, it can all lead up or add up to a level of stress that puts your ability to lead in danger. And because we act differently in times of stress, it's harder to be patient. It's tough to stay focused. We can become angry. We can blame. It's an old fight or flight response, right? And that's why it can be so valuable to learn more about how you react to stress, understand your behavior, and try to avoid the pitfalls that many leaders do. Because what you don't want is that anxiety and stress falls on your team. They become anxious and stressed, that they don't do their job properly. This all leads to a downfall. Number 6 is keeping yourself motivated. Now, everybody has bad days in China. In fact, I relate China to a roller coaster ride. You've got your ups that are bad, drudging, heavy, but then you have those amazing days where you're going down and your stomach goes up to your face and it's free fall, that are so exciting. Okay, now let's focus on those bad days, the blah days, the times when progress is slow, you're not getting the answers that you want, effort is failing, and you're falling into a bit of a funk. And it's easy to dwell on what isn't working and let it sap your energy. And that can be especially tough for a leader to work through because everyone's looking at you to be the cheerleader, right? A champion to be consistent, build momentum, enthusiasm, get it done kind of attitude. And you should be on the ball 24/7, 7 days a week, right? But sometimes just the expectation of you to be the chief motivating officer can be one of the most demotivating factors you deal with. But obviously your team is looking to you to lead, guide, and inspire. And even if you're not at your best or most enthusiastic self, try. Or just take the day off and do something else. Number 7 is avoiding burnout. I have a lot of friends who personally experienced burnouts in China. Maybe it's progression. You lose motivation, then your will to lead fizzles out entirely. We've already gone through a long list of leadership challenges, and we're just getting started with all of this against you. How do you not burn yourself out as a leader? And this is why a lot of foreign companies, they have rotations for CEOs and senior management staff to be in China at a maximum of 3 to 5 years, because it can lead to a burnout. And to be perfectly frank, burnouts get the best of all leaders. They push too hard, they never rest, and we're insane hours. It's crazy. So you've got to be careful with this, right? And China can lead you into that level of energy where you don't even realize you're going through a burnout. You have to be aware, you've got to pay attention, and you got to take a break every so often. The best, and this was pre-COVID, and now hopefully starting from this year, the best to get out of those burnout phases is to get out of China completely. Go to your head office, take a holiday in Thailand, see something different, see something new. Number 8 is being vulnerable. Now, let's bring this back full circle because vulnerability is closely tied to humility, and it's equally important to good leadership. In China, it took me a long time to realize this. As a leader, I kind of put the expectation on myself that I should know everything. And whenever I did something wrong or I made a mistake, I always put it on something else and kind of blamed other people. That was my go-to. And I realized that it just made the team feel crappy, that I was blaming them when it was actually ultimately my mistake. But it was because in my mind, I was thinking, I know everything in China. It took me a long time to get over this, but in the end, I realized I am a foreigner in China. I do not know everything. Yes, I am a leader, but I also know what my strengths and my weaknesses are and what I bring to the team. My strengths are in business advisory. This is what I do well. I enjoy helping a company grow and scale in the Chinese market. My finance teams, they are excellent in getting the books done and making sure everything is done properly and in compliance according to Chinese accounting regulations and tax regulations. Everybody within my team has their strengths and their weaknesses, and we focus on how to develop those strengths. Not only do we focus on also developing those weaknesses, but in a slighter form because we want those strengths to really come out. Now, one thing that I have learned to do is I have learned to say I was wrong. It takes a lot to admit your mistakes. It takes a lot to ask for feedback. It takes a lot to learn from criticism. But if you're not able to ask for help, it can be a major hurdle to effective leadership. Now, one thing I've learned is to become vulnerable. Vulnerability is authenticity. It means you are providing an accurate picture of who you are and knowing what gets you down and what keeps you going. It means involving your team and understanding what your strengths and weaknesses are and making sure that if you do make a mistake, you admit it and inspiring the others to do exactly the same. It is really hard to do, which is why many leaders prefer to project invulnerability, but that's a trap. Great leaders take the challenge to be vulnerable, own it, and live it. Now, I hope these 8 internal challenges that I've highlighted will help a lot of these new CEOs and leaders that are heading over to China now since the borders have been opened. You're new in the market. Maybe you've lived there in the past, but one thing I have understood from my team is that China has changed in the last 3 years. They've openly said, I will not recognize Shanghai anymore, which is heartbreaking, but it is the reality. So I know that when I go back to Shanghai, the people would have changed, the mindset would have changed, and I will have to adapt myself once again. I'm hoping that these internal challenges will help me to conquer the new Shanghai that I'm going to see again in 2023. And for those of you that are heading over there, that are relocating over there, or for those of you that are still living there, I hope that these 8 internal challenges can be a reminder for you to become aware of how to manage your team and how to prosper in the Chinese market. If you are incurring any of these pain points and you want to discuss them, I'm going to provide you the link to our diary where you can set up a 15-minute discovery call where we can go through your pain points and see whether we at Woodburn Accountants and Advisors can help you. If you liked today's episode, please press like and definitely subscribe to our channel so you can get more daily insights into how to do business in China. And if you want to learn more about what I do or what we do at Woodburn Accountants and Advisors, go to our website at woodburnglobal.com. Have a great day. Take care and goodbye.